You know, that constant hum, the questions, the worries, maybe sometimes, even outright panic about parenting in this super digital world.
Oh, yeah. I think we all feel that.
It feels like every day there's a new headline, right? Another worry about kids and screens.
Absolutely. And it changes so fast. It's tough for parents to know what's reliable info versus just, opinions flying around.
Exactly. So today we're doing a deep dive. We're going into some really insightful research-backed stuff on parenting in the digital age.
Mm-hmm.
We're pulling directly from Professor Jacqueline Nessie's brilliant work, her Substack newsletter, Technosapiens.
Fantastic resource.
Totally. Our mission here is basically to pull out the most important nuggets, the key insights from her work, and give you a shortcut, kind of, to getting well-informed on this really critical topic.
Yeah.
So let's get into it.
Okay. So a really key thing Nessie stresses right away is grounding all this advice in understanding adolescence itself.
Right. The teen years.
Yeah, roughly ages 10 to 20. We often think of it as just difficult, challenging.
Yeah. The storm and stress idea.
Exactly. But Nessie's research, and she builds on others like the UCLA Center for the Developing Adolescent, she reframes it. She says these years are actually this unique time of super fast growth, learning, development. It's a huge opportunity, actually, for adults to help shape who teens become.
That's such an important shift in perspective.
Yeah.
Not just getting through it, but seeing the opportunity.
Right. It's about working with their developmental needs, not, fighting against them.
And she lays out 6 key scientific needs for teens. That sounds like a really useful framework for parents.
It really is. So first up is exploration and risk-taking.
Okay.
Teen brains are just wired for excitement, for novelty. So the idea is we should encourage healthy risks.
Like what kind of healthy risks?
Well, trying a new sport, maybe taking a tougher class at school, or, using their voice online or offline to stand up for something they believe in, things that feel a bit challenging but are ultimately constructive.
Got it. Okay, what's next?
That leads nicely into the need for meaning and purpose through contribution. As teens develop more empathy, they become really capable of helping others. And this can be simple stuff, like supporting a friend who's having a hard time, maybe online, doing chores at home without being nagged, or getting involved in, say, student government or volunteering. It helps them feel like they matter.
Right, like their actions have impact. That makes sense. Number 3.
Decision-making and emotional regulation. And, we all know teens feel things so strongly.
Oh, yeah. The highs are high, the lows are low.
Totally, whether it's excitement over some new trend or just intense frustration about something feeling unfair. So Nessie really highlights teaching them to recognize and manage those big feelings.
How do you do that?
Equipping them with healthy coping skills, things like distraction techniques, mindfulness, maybe just listening to music, self-care routines, and crucially, we have to model that stuff ourselves.
Yeah, that's always the hard part, isn't it? Okay, what else?
Then there's support from parents and other caring adults. Even when they act super independent.
Which they do.
They still absolutely need warmth, our interest, and, appropriate structure. That means clear rules, boundaries, and parents basically knowing what's going on in their lives.
Monitoring, yeah.
Right, and having other supportive adults, coaches, teachers, mentors, that's also really vital for them.
Okay, 2 more.
5th is developing values, goals, and identity. They're actively figuring out, who do I want to be?
That's a big question.
It is, and they're influenced by everything, peers, family, community, even random TikTok trends, So they need some freedom to experiment, but also our support as they explore different parts of their identity, racial, ethnic, gender, sexual identity, helping them do that safely.
And the last one.
Finally, respect and social status. Teen brains become hyper aware of social standing during these years. So providing healthy ways for them to gain respect, maybe their school achievements, extracurriculars, or just by treating them like competent people whose opinions actually matter. That's incredibly important for their self-worth.
Wow, okay, so understanding those 6 needs really does change how you might approach things. But how does this translate to, the everyday screen time arguments?
Well, Nessie says it starts by rethinking what we mean by discipline.
Okay, not just punishment.
Okay.
Exactly.
Now,
She
stability
defines
is
it
always a
as your
hot topic
entire
with digital
system for
currencies.
teaching kids
How do
acceptable
credits
behavior.
handle
And it's built on
things
three
like,
things:
say, fluctuating exchange
warmth,
rates?
structure,
That's
and
actually
effective
a key benefit they
consequences.
highlight.
Okay, let's break that down.
By
Warmth.
pricing everything
Warmth
in
is
credits,
pretty straightforward.
ONPASSIve
It's showing
creates this kind of
affection,
universal
support,
value
actively
within
building
their
that positive,
ecosystem.
loving
It means
connection.
the
So what does
price
that
isn't
look like?
directly hit
For
by
little
local
kids, maybe it's
inflation
dedicated
or,
special
the
playtime.
ups
For
and
older
downs of
kids, maybe a
external
movie
currencies.
night, or
If
I don't know,
something
even
costs
making a
50
silly
credits,
TikTok
it costs
together.
50
Right.
credits
These
everywhere inside
moments, she
ONPASSIve,
calls them
regardless
deposits
what
in the
dollar
bank.
or the euro is
They
doing
build
outside.
trust.
So let's clarify
like that.
something I've heard.
Okay,
People
and
often say
structure.
one credit
Structure
equals
means
1
having
USD.
consistent,
But you're
predictable
saying
limits,
it's not actually a
rules,
dollar.
and
Can you
expectations.
explain that difference?
And being
that's a
really
important
clear and
point, it does
specific.
cause
So
some
not just
confusion sometimes.
less screen time.
While
Right.
one credit might
More
be
like, okay,
pegged
you can play
or
Minecraft
referenced
for
to the
30
value
minutes
of
on
1
weekdays, but
USD,
only after
mostly for
homework's done,
price
and it has to be
consistency,
before
it's
8 p.m.,
absolutely not
something
a dollar
concrete.
itself.
And
Think
for
of it
older
more
kids,
like,
she suggests actually involving
maybe
them in setting the
airline
rules,
miles
makes them feel
or
more
a store gift
ownership. It's
card,
kind of firm but
or
flexible.
even
You need to
in-game
know your
currency. It
absolute
has a
deal
clear
breakers
value
versus
linked
the things
to a
you'd prefer they
real-world
didn't do
currency,
but
but it
might
only
negotiate
functions
on.
as an
Okay,
internal
warmth,
token,
structure,
strictly inside
and
the
consequences.
ONPASSIve
Yeah.
This ties into that
It's
learning
really a
theory,
closed
right?
Exactly.
ecosystem.
Operant
That
conditioning.
USD reference
Sounds
is
technical, but
just
the
a
basic
benchmark,
idea
convenient
going
way
way
to
back
price
is
things
super
until you
simple.
decide to convert it out
Behaviors
through their
followed by a
approved
good
process.
outcome
Okay,
are
that makes
more
sense.
likely to
So
happen
for the
again.
user,
And one's
what
followed
are
by
the
a bad
real
outcome.
practical upsides
Less
of using
likely.
credits instead of
Precisely.
just, say, using a
Understanding
credit
this
card
is
or
key
bank
to
transfer
guiding
within the
kids'
system?
behavior
The
online
advantages
or
are
off.
pretty significant,
So
actually.
Nessie
First
breaks
off,
down the
speed
types
and
of
simplicity.
consequences.
Big ones. There's
Yeah,
no waiting
there are
bank
4 main
approvals, you
types.
skip things like
First
Swift
is
fees for
positive
international
reinforcement.
stuff, and transactions
Adding
happen
something
pretty much in
good,
real time. It
like
cuts
maybe
through a
giving
lot of
some
the
extra
usual
screen time
financial
because they
red tape.
finished their chores early
And with
without
all
being
this
asked.
digital movement of
Okay.
value,
Rewarding good
security
behavior.
must be top of
Then
mind.
negative
How are credits
reinforcement.
secured?
Taking
Absolutely
away
critical.
something
They
bad
state
or
that
annoying,
every
like
single
maybe lifting a
transaction
screen
using
time
credits gets
restriction for a
recorded
bit
on
because they clean
ONPASSIVE's
their room
own
proactively.
secure ledger.
You're removing a
Plus,
negative
they
rule.
integrate
Right.
their O-Verify
Then there's
system.
punishment.
That's their
Yeah.
identity
Positive
verification
punishment
tool,
is
which
adding
helps
something
minimize
bad.
fraud risk,
So if they
adds a
posted
big
something
layer of
inappropriate,
trust,
you might
Okay.
add a new
One thing
rule
that
like
caught my
they
eye
now
was
need
this idea of
permission before
financial
posting anything on
flexibility.
TikTok.
Adding a restriction.
Something
And
about
negative punishment is taking
accumulating
away something good.
credits.
This is probably
potentially
the most
avoiding
common
immediate
one
tax
parents use,
issues.
like taking
What's the
away their
thinking
phone
there?
for the rest
That's
of the
an
day
interesting
because they
aspect,
broke a
yeah.
screen time
And it
rule.
really
Okay,
depends
that makes
heavily on the
sense.
tax laws.
But Nessie
and
points
the
out a
user's
common
specific
mistake,
countries.
right?
Yes,
That's
a
the big
huge
caveat.
one.
But the idea is
Sometimes
potentially
our
users could
attention,
accumulate
even if we're
credits and reinvest
scolding
them
or
within the
lecturing them,
ecosystem without
can
that
actually
immediately
act as
triggering a
positive
taxable event,
reinforcement
which
for
might
younger
happen if you
kids.
withdrew
They
regular
crave
currency.
the
It
attention,
offers
good
some
or bad.
flexibility.
Oh,
And
interesting. So
strategically for
yelling might
ONPASSIVE, it
accidentally
encourages
encourage
users
the
to keep
behavior.
value
It can,
inside the
yeah.
platform, right?
And
Helps
also
grow the
giving
internal
in when
economy
they
and makes them
escalate,
less
like having a
reliant on
huge
constant
tantrum over the
external
iPad and you
financial
finally just give it back to
interactions.
make it
Keeps the
stop.
economic engine
That
running
reinforces the
internally.
tantrum
Clarity
itself.
and
Ugh,
efficiency.
been there.
Seems
all
like
have.
it extends right into
And related to
how
that, she
founders
talks
get
about
paid
something
too.
called the
Let's
extinction
talk more about
burst.
how
The what
credits
now?
fit into the
Extinction
commission
burst.
Sure.
It means when you
So
start
commission. They're
consistently
calculated based on
ignoring
the
an
dollar
unwanted
value,
behavior that
but
used to
the
get
actual
attention, like
payout is always
whining,
an ONPASSIVE
expect
credits.
it
These
to
go
get
straight into the
worse
user's
for a
wallet.
bit before it
And
gets
then
better.
the user
Worse.
gets choices.
Oh, great.
They
I
can
know,
start
but
a
it's
withdrawal
actually a
process to
sign
get
it might be
additional money.
working.
They can use
They're
the
trying
credits
harder to
buy
get the old
more
reaction.
tools or services
Knowing this
right there
helps
in
you
the
stay
ecosystem,
consistent and
or
not
they could
give
even
in
gift
right
the
when it
credits
feels
to another
toughest.
founder within
Okay,
the
that's
system.
actually really helpful to know.
So
It
this isn't
explains
just
a lot
payment
about those
mechanism. It sounds
after-screen
like it
meltdowns too, doesn't
fundamentally
it?
shapes their whole
Why do
economic
kids
model.
flip
And
out
it
so much when it's
urges
time to turn
this
things off?
self-sustaining economy
Nessie's
inside
research points
ONPASSIVE.
to a few key
What does that
reasons.
mean
I mean,
for their
first
goal
off,
of
it's just
being
hard
sort
to
of
stop doing
independent in
fun
the market?
things, right?
That's a really good
Screens
point.
light
This
up the
system
brain's
is
reward
key to
centers.
making ONPASSIve
Also,
economically
kids might have
self-sufficient.
temporary
By
problems
keeping
with
value
executive
circulating
functions.
internally, like
Switching
you said,
tasks is
they
hard.
reduce their
Sometimes
need
they
to
might be
constantly
imitating
deal
bad
with
behavior they saw on a
external
show.
currency
Oh,
exchanges.
interesting.
It
Or maybe
streamlines
stopping
things for
interrupts
them,
their progress
strengthens
in a
their
game,
internal
which is super
economy. It
frustrating.
helps them build this
Screen time
robust,
might be
independent
replacing need
ecosystem
physical
that's
activity.
maybe
Sometimes it's just overstimulation, or they have these big feelings, excitement, frustration that don't just switch off.
That makes a lot of sense. So knowing why helps us figure out what to do.
Exactly. She offers proactive strategies, like experiment with different types of shows or games. Try different ways of stopping. Give those 5-minute or 2-minute warnings. Talk to them about the transition. Ask them, hey, why is it sometimes hard to turn off the iPad? Help them build that self-awareness.
What else?
Make a plan together beforehand. Like, okay, we'll watch 2 episodes, then it's off.
Is there a way to
Think about timing. Maybe don't have screen time right before something demanding. Maybe plan a calm activity after screens.
Good idea.
And the big one, Be consistent. Stick to the limits, even with whining. You can validate their feelings. I know you're disappointed, it's time to stop, but hold the line.
Right, consistency is key.
Oh, and turn off autoplay. Seriously. If meltdowns are happening all the time, maybe you do need to reduce the overall amount of screen time.
Okay, that consistency point feels really important. Which kind of leads us to some specific digital challenges, right? Like, what about the really little kids, ages 5 and under? The guidelines seem super strict.
They are pretty strict. The AAP and WHO say basically no screens under 18 months except video chat, then 18-24 month only co-viewing educational stuff, and 2-5 years, an hour or less of high-quality programming.
But the reality is often different.
Very different. Nessie points out that, on average, 2 to 4-year-olds are getting something like 2.5 hours a day.
Wow.
Her take, which I find really helpful, is that the specific hour cutoffs can be a bit arbitrary. The real question is screen time interfering with the absolute essentials for healthy development?
Which are
Sleep, physical activity, and crucially, that back-and-forth human interaction. She calls it serve and return.
Serve and return. Like tennis.
Kind of. Imagine a baby babbles or points. The parent serves back by responding, naming the object, making eye contact. That responsive interaction is fundamental for brain development. Too much passive screen time can get in the way of that.
Got it. So it's about balance and what screen time might be displacing. What about what they watch? Does it have to be educational?
Nessie says developmentally appropriate is key. It doesn't always have to be explicitly educational, but those shows often do have positive messages.
The vision seems pretty ambitious.
She looks for 4 qualities in good
credits
shows.
becoming the main
They should be active, prompting responses, engaging, holding attention without being overwhelming, meaningful, connecting to their lives, and socially interactive, modeling positive interactions.
Like Daniel Tiger or Sesame Street?
Exactly. Daniel Tiger, Sesame Street, Dora, Super WHY. Those kinds of shows often hit those marks.
And do kids actually learn from screens at that age?
Well, Nessie highlights the video deficit. Basically, kids under 3 learn way less effectively from a 2D screen compared to a real-life person.
Why is that?
A screen can't respond contingently, offer different angles, provide that rich multisensory input like a real person or object can. Once kids are 3 or older, some learning can happen from screens, but it's significantly boosted if you co-view, watch with them, and talk about it.
Okay. And for stopping those screen time battles with little ones, any quick tips?
Yeah, similar ideas. Clear expectations before screens go on, offer simple choices, turn it off now or in 2 minutes, give simple reasons, time for bath, use visual timers, give warnings, be consistent afterwards, and validate feelings while holding the boundary firm.
Great practical advice. Okay, let's shift gears to something that causes a lot of anxiety. Dopamine, the whole screen addiction fear.
Right. The narrative is often that screens cause these dangerous dopamine surges, just like drugs, leading to addiction.
So what's the reality, according to Nessie's research? What is dopamine doing?
She provides a really important clarification. Dopamine isn't just a pleasure chemical. It's a neurotransmitter involved in lots of things, movement, sleep, learning. But its main role here is motivation. It drives us to seek out rewarding things.
So screens are rewarding.
Yes. Like many enjoyable activities, dopamine gets released. And social media platforms especially are designed very cleverly. Features like endless scrolling, unpredictable likes that creates what scientists call variable reward schedules. It leverages that dopamine response to keep us engaged, keep us coming back.
But is it really addiction, like drug addiction?
Nessie is clear. For most people, no, it's not comparable. Problematic, maybe even addictive-like use can happen for a small percentage of kids, but currently there's no official diagnosis like social media addiction in the main diagnostic manuals.
Okay, so the takeaway for parents.
Don't panic about dopamine specifically. Focus instead on promoting moderation, ensuring screens aren't crowding out other rewarding activities, playing outside, hanging out with friends in person, hobbies, all that stuff. Aim for balance.
That's a much calmer perspective. We can talk video games. They're everywhere, right? Especially for boys.
Almost universal, like 97% of teen boys, 83% of teen girls play. And yeah, boys average way more time over 2 hours a day compared to under an hour for girls.
Are they inherently bad? What does the research say?
Generally, Nessie finds little evidence of inherent harm from gaming itself. In fact, there are some cognitive benefits linked to certain types of games, things like better working memory, faster reaction times, improved improved attention skills.
And socially.
They can be a really important social space, particularly for boys, a way to connect, cooperate, compete with friends.
But the big question is always, when is it too much?
Yeah, and Nessie brings it back to that key question. What are the games replacing?
Right.
If gaming is consistently pushing out sleep, homework, physical activity, face-to-face socializing, that's when you need to be concerned.
What about actual gaming disorder? Is that a real thing?
It is. It's characterized by things like losing control over gaming, giving it increasing priority over everything else, and continuing to game despite negative consequences.
So it
affects maybe 1 to 9% of teens.
Just say age and location.
If you're seriously worried about that pattern, seeking professional advice is the way to go.
Okay. And the elephant in the room.
Traffic.
Violent video games.
The system falls up.
Are they dangerous? The debate is so heated.
It is. Nessie presents a nuanced view based on the bulk of research. Studies do show small, short-term increases in aggressive thoughts, feelings, and maybe behaviors right after playing.
Okay, small and short-term.
Right. But there's very little evidence linking violent game playing to long-term serious violence or criminal behavior. That connection is often overstated in the media.
So how should parents handle violent games then?
Nessie gives 5 key pieces of advice. 1, know the research, understand the nuance, the short-term versus long-term findings. 2, know your child, how's their temperament, who are their friends. 3, know the games, actually play with them or watch, check ratings on sites like Common Sense Media. 4, talk about it. Discuss your family values, your concerns about the content.
So
and 5, set flexible limits. Use that collaborative, autonomy supportive approach. Involve them in setting boundaries around what they play and when.
That seems really balanced. Okay, one more big debate area. Phones in schools. Why are schools considering bans?
Well, the reasons are pretty clear. Worries about distraction, interfering with learning, potential negative impact on social skills like less face-to-face interaction, cyberbullying concerns, and general worries about mental health.
And what does the research say? Are phones actually distracting?
Oh, yeah. The research is pretty solid on that. Smartphones are distracting. Even just having one nearby, even if it's off, can impact attention and performance on cognitive tasks.
Okay, so they're distracting. But do bans actually work? Does banning phones improve things?
That's where the evidence gets a bit more mixed, according to Nessie. Some studies, like one in England, found small but significant improvements in test scores after bans, especially for lower achieving students.
Okay, so some positive effect there.
But other studies, in places like Norway and Sweden, found minimal or no impact overall, or maybe effects only for certain student groups.
So it's not a simple bans work or bans don't work.
Exactly. Nessie suggests that limiting phone use during the school day makes logical sense to reduce distraction. But the details really matter. How is the ban enforced? Do teachers have support? It's not a magic bullet.
Right. A phone ban isn't going to solve the entire youth mental health crisis on its own.
Precisely. There are many factors involved in student well-being at school, and phones are just one piece of a much larger puzzle.
Okay, this is all incredibly helpful context. Let's pivot now to some really practical tools. The number one question I hear is, when is the right age to get a kid a smartphone?
And Nessie's answer, maybe frustratingly for some, is there's no single right age.
Yeah, I figured.
Her general advice, based on the evidence of potential interference with social skills and academics, especially for younger teens, is to wait if you can. Delaying is often beneficial.
But how do you know if your kid is ready?
She offers a great framework called the 4 R's to help parents think it through.
Okay, what are they?
Responsibility. Does your child generally show responsibility in other areas of their life? Do they understand what it means to be responsible with a device? Rules. Do they understand the rules you'll set and why those rules exist? Risks. Do they have a basic understanding of potential online risks, like privacy issues or cyberbullying? And reasons. What are their actual reasons for wanting a phone? Is it genuine need or just peer pressure?
Yeah, that's a really useful checklist. What if you decide they're not ready for a smartphone, or you just want alternatives?
Nessie mentions several options. There are basic phones, flip phones still exist.
Wow.
There are also these minimalist, kid-friendly smartphones like Gab, Pinwheel, or Bark phones, which have limited functionality. And smartwatches can be a good intermediate step too, allowing calls and texts with approved contacts, but no internet browser or apps.
Okay, good options. So let's say they have the phone. Now, boundaries and parental controls. Nessie has some specific rules she recommends.
Yes, some really actionable ones. First and foremost, no phone in the bedroom, especially at night. Sleep is just too important.
Absolutely critical.
Second, establish at least one other phone-free zone or time. Maybe family meals, maybe car rides. Third, require permission before downloading new apps or making in-app purchases. Avoid surprise bills. Fourth, talk constantly about using good judgment, being kind online, choosing positive content, thinking before they post. And fifth, a simple one.
Consistency depends on
they need to respond to texts or calls from parents reasonably promptly.
That seems fair. What about the technical side, parental controls? Are they effective?
Nessie has a great analogy. Parental controls are like a gate, not a wall.
A gate, not a wall. I like that.
Yeah. They're useful for slowing kids down, creating barriers, making it harder to access inappropriate stuff or spend too much time. But they're not foolproof. Determined kids can often find workarounds.
So don't just set them and forget them.
Definitely not. The crucial thing Nessie emphasizes is that setting controls needs to be an ongoing conversation. Sit down with your child, explain why you're setting certain limits, listen to their perspective, and adjust the controls together as they get older and show more responsibility.
Can you give some examples of the kinds of controls available?
Sure. On Instagram, for instance, teen accounts default to private now, and there are restrictions on who can message them. Parents can use the supervision tools to see who they follow and who follows them, who they message, not the content, and set daily time limits.
Okay. What about TikTok?
TikTok has different settings for younger teens, 13 to 15, versus older ones, 16, 17, regarding things like direct messages and comments. They also have family pairing, which lets a parent link their account to manage settings, including screen time.
And Snapchat. Seems like a tricky one.
Snapchat also has settings to limit contact from strangers for teens. Their Family Center lets parents see their child's friends list and who they've messaged recently. Again, not the content, but just the contacts, which gives some oversight. YouTube offers YouTube Kids for the youngest. For older kids, there are supervised accounts parents can manage, allowing them to choose content levels, block channels, turn off search, and see watch history. There's also a general restricted mode filter.
And then just the phone's operating system itself.
Right. Both Android with Google Family Link and iOS with Apple Family Sharing and Screen Time have built-in tools. You can set time limits for specific apps or overall usage, approve app downloads, track location, and filter web content.
So many tools.
Lots of tools. But the key, as Nessie stresses again and again, is that the technology is only part of it. The conversations, the warmth, the structure, that's the foundation.
Wow. We have really covered a huge amount of ground today. It's incredible how much insight is packed into Professor Nessie's Technosapiens work, from understanding how teens tick to these really concrete strategies for screens.
Absolutely. It really underscores that idea of evidence-based parenting. Nessie often talks about it like a three-legged stool. The research, like everything we've discussed today, that's one crucial leg. But the other two legs are just as important. Your own unique expertise as a parent who knows your child best, and your child's individual characteristics, their temperament, their strengths, their challenges.
So the science gives us direction, but we still need to use our judgment.
Exactly. The research provides the map, maybe, but you are the one driving, adapting to the specific terrain of your family and your child. Your informed judgment makes it work.
That's a really empowering way to think about it. It leads to a final thought, maybe, for everyone listening.
Yeah, perhaps something to mull over.
Sounds great.
In this world where digital tech just keeps changing so fast, how can you shift from just reacting to the latest crisis or headline? How can you proactively take these kinds of evidence-based insights we've talked about and use them to really shape a digital environment at home that doesn't just help your kids survive, but actually helps them thrive?
Okay, so imagine this for a second. A digital system that doesn't just, give you tools to find traffic online. Instead, it actually creates it for you.
That's a pretty good analogy, yeah.
And distributes it.
Right, like a constant flow.
Exactly. Potential customers, maybe collaborators, connections, all funnel directly to you inside this system.
What's really interesting is how
today, we're doing a deep dive into the ONPASSIVE ecosystem, or OES. You've probably heard the buzz.
Yeah, especially that huge number they talk about.
That's the one. Over 12.5 million active traffic users. It's a massive claim.
The main driver seems
So our mission today is basically to unpack that. What does 12.5 million really mean here? Where is it coming from? And, the big question,
especially for
How does it actually impact you if you're operating in the digital world?
And we've got some interesting material to work with, excerpts from an ONPASSIVE conversation featuring the founder, Ash Mufareh,
And it's not
plus
just about
analysts,
access, it
a
sounds like
developer.
efficiency. And even an affiliate and a founder from within ONPASSIVE. So multiple viewpoints.
Yeah, should give us a good picture.
All right, let's dive in. That core claim first. 12.5 million plus unique traffic streams.
And right away, they're very specific. This is described as
so let's talk
live,
practicalities.
verified,
How do these
AI
credits actually
curated
work?
traffic.
For example,
meaning
if a
they're
founder
explicitly
earns a
saying
commission,
it's not
what happens
bots.
next?
That's a big distinction in this space, you know?
Absolutely. Bots can inflate numbers like crazy.
Then the
So,
user has options.
12.5
They can use those
million
credits to
real
buy
users,
specific on-passive
active
products
users.
like
That's the
OConnect,
claim.
their video
Live,
tool,
verified,
or ODomain
AI
for
curated.
websites.
That number
Or they
itself,
could use them to upgrade
12.5
to
million.
premium packages
I mean, how
with the
significant
tool.
is that compared
about
to,
getting it out?
say,
Users
established
turn those credits
platforms
into,
trying to
you know,
grow?
actual
Oh, it's
cash in
huge.
their bank
Many top-tier
Yes, that's an
platforms
option. The
would,
system lets you
frankly,
convert
kill for
credits
that
to
kind of
traditional
verified
currency through
active
their
user base,
wallet.
especially if
That's
it's growing
ONPassive's
organically.
digital
So it puts
wallet.
ONPASSIVE in a
But,
different kind of
that
league,
process
doesn't it?
It
does
potentially
depend on
does, and their
completing
whole
know
philosophy
your
seems different.
customer
Ash Mufareh
KYC
apparently talks
procedures.
about not
That's
chasing
pretty
traffic,
standard identity
but generating it
verification
from
stuff
within
for
the
financial
ecosystem
things.
itself. He calls
And
it
of
the
course, it's
oxygen
subject
of
to
the
their platform
system.
Oxygen,
policies,
implying
mainly
it's
for
essential,
security and
self-sustaining.
That
Okay.
seems to be the
Now,
idea. Like the
stability is
activity
always a hot
inside
topic with
ONPASSIVE
digital
creates
currencies.
more activity,
How do
more
credits
traffic.
handle
It feeds
things
itself
like,
rather
say,
than relying purely on
fluctuating
external
exchange
ads.
rates? Interesting
that's
model.
actually a
Okay, so
key benefit
how
they
did they get
highlight.
to
By pricing
12.5
everything in
million?
credits,
Was there a sudden
ONPASSIVE creates kind of
explosion or?
universal
Well, the
value
material
within their
suggests it was more of an
ecosystem.
organic
It
build
means the
starting
price
from the
isn't
beginning.
directly
They
hit
talk
by
about
local
building trust,
inflation
global
or,
marketing,
the
founder
ups and
engagement.
downs of
These
external
founders
currencies.
seem
If something
key,
costs
like
50
early
credits, it
adopters
costs
who are
50 credits
really
everywhere
invested.
inside on
Right,
passive,
and AI systems
regardless
playing a
what the
role from the
dollar
start,
or the
too.
euro is doing
Exactly.
outside.
So
But
let's
there was
clarify something
definitely
here.
an
People often say
acceleration
one
point.
credit
The sources
equals
point to
one USD.
around
But you're
2021
saying it's Okay. not actually
when
a dollar. Can you
specific
explain that
on-passive
differently?
Yeah,
tools
that's a really
started getting
important
real
point, and it does
traction.
cause some confusion
Fadma, the
sometimes.
affiliate in the
While
script,
one credit
she
might be
mentions things
pegged
really
or
taking off with
referenced to the
tools
value
like
of one
OTRIM,
OTRIM,
mostly
that's
for
the link
price
shortener,
consistency.
traffic.
yeah, the
It's
advanced one,
absolutely not a
and
dollar
OMail,
itself.
their secure
Think of it
email,
more
and
like,
ONET, the social network
maybe
platform.
airline
So
miles.
usage of the tools
Or store gift
themselves
cards.
started driving
Or
referrals and
even
growth.
It
in-game
seems so.
currency. It
Plus,
has a
the
clear
traffic
value
analyst
linked
mentions
to
a mix of
real
other
world
things:
currency,
YouTube
but it only
campaigns,
functions as an
AI-driven
internal
SEO,
token,
email automation,
strictly
and importantly,
inside the
word of mouth
ONPASSIVE
from those
ecosystem. It's
passionate
really a
founders and
closed-loop
users.
system.
That seems to be a
That
big
USD
factor.
reference
Okay,
is
so a
just
multi-pronged
benchmark, a
approach,
convenient way to
but
price
with
things
significant
if you decide
internal
to convert it
momentum.
out through
That's
their
the picture
approved
painted,
process.
yes.
So let's get practical. If you're a user or one of these founders inside OES, what does this 12.5 million traffic figure actually do for you?
Well, the way
advantages
it's
are pretty
framed, it's like
significant, actually. First off, speed
like
and
a gold
simplicity,
mine,
big ones.
potentially.
There's no wait
Gold
around
mine
bank
of
approvals,
Potential
you skip things like
customers,
SOS fees for
subscribers,
international
maybe
stuff.
team
And
members if
transactions
you're
happen
building
pretty much in real
something,
time. It
all
cuts through
within
a lot
that
of the
closed
usual financial
ecosystem.
red tape.
And we have examples of this, like real users seeing benefits.
Yeah, the source material gives a couple. Mark, the ONPASSIVE founder, he
Absolutely
apparently
critical.
talked about
They state
leads
that
just
every
dripping
single
in
transaction
from
using
previews
credits
of
gets
OConnect.
reported
OConnect,
on
that's the webinar
ONPASSIVE's
platform.
Video
own secure
conferencing,
ledger.
webinars, yeah.
Plus, they integrate
So
their O
just from
Verify system,
previews,
that's
he's
their
seeing
identity
leads.
verification
Without him
tool, which
actively
helps
pushing it
minimize
externally.
fraud
That
risk,
seems to be the
adds a big
implication in
layer
that
of
specific
trust,
example.
you know.
And then Fadma, the affiliate,
One thing
her
that
story
caught
was
my
about
eye was this
ONET, the
idea
social
of financial
platform. She
flexibility.
apparently went from maybe
Something
200
about
followers to over
accumulating
30,000 on her
credits,
monthly reach.
potentially avoiding immediate
And
tax
how?
issues.
Attributed
What's the thinking
directly
there?
to the
That's an
internal
interesting
reach
aspect,
tools
yeah.
within
And it really
ONET. So the
depends heavily on
system
the tax
itself
laws in the
amplifying her
user-specific
presence.
countries
Okay,
that
so
take
volume
data.
matters.
But the idea is
But you mentioned
potentially users
AI
could accumulate
curated
credits
earlier,
and reinvest
and
them
Ash
within the
Mufareh talks
ecosystem
about
without that
intelligent
immediately
traffic.
triggering a
What's the
taxable
intelligent
event,
part?
which might
Right,
happen
that's
to users
crucial. It's
through
not just
regular
throwing
currency-based
millions of
offers and
people around
flexibility.
randomly.
And
The
strategically
AI
for
is
ONPASSIVE,
key.
it encourages
Its
users
main
to
job,
keep value
basically, is to
inside the
watch how
platform,
people
right?
behave
Helps grow
inside the
internal
OES.
economy and makes them
What do they
less
click
reliant
on?
constant
How long do they
external
engage
financial
with certain
interactions.
tools or
Keeps the
content?
economic
What are
engine
their
running
preferences?
internally.
Okay, so it's learning user behavior.
Constantly.
Seems like it
And then
extends
the
right
intelligent
into
part is
how
it
founders
uses
get
that
paid, too.
understanding to
Let's talk more
redirect
about how
similar
credits fit
users
into
to
the
relevant
commission
stuff.
Sure. So if I'm interested in,
commissions, they're
say,
calculated
e-learning
based on a
tools.
dollar
Exactly.
value,
If someone
but
else
the
in
actual
OES has an
payout is
e-learning
always
product
on
or
passive
service,
credits.
the AI
These
might
go
identify
straight
you
into
as a
the
good
user's
match and subtly push that product your way, or connect you with communities interested in that.
So it's trying to predict relevance.
Precisely. It's aiming for quality connections, not just quantity.
That sounds potentially very powerful. Can you give us a sense of the speed or precision? Like, what does that feel like for someone using the system?
Well, imagine launching something new inside OES, a product, a service, maybe even just a piece of content.
Okay. Instead of the usual grind, SEO, external ads, social media campaigns, the idea here is the system's AI could connect your launch to thousands of interested users, potentially within minutes.
Interested being the key word there.
Absolutely. That's why they call it predictive traffic. It's not just raw numbers, it's numbers that the AI predicts are much more likely to actually engage or convert because their past behavior indicates interest.
That shifts the focus from user acquisition to user matching, almost.
Sort of, yeah. Leveraging the existing internal user base intelligently.
But how does this traffic get distributed? If there are millions of users and potentially thousands of founders or businesses, how do they ensure everyone gets a piece of the pie? Does it just go to the most popular people?
That's a really important question, and they seem to have a specific mechanism for it. They call them intelligent rotator systems.
Rotator systems, like a round-robin sort of thing.
Kind of, but intelligent.
Is there a way
The description suggests they're designed to make sure every